So finally, Monica's fine. Ryan is working. He's doing all right. And things were never the same after that. Those 2 years of hell they had to live through took a really hard toll on their marriage. Things were never the same. And it was just tough for everybody. Brian kept living with the whole family after that for a long time, kind of trying to helping everybody out. But things were getting tougher in Mexico because of the violence and all that. Tourism went down, so Brian wasn't making as much money anymore, having a hard time himself. And when things got even worse, Monica, Monica's stepfather, when he saw that Brian wasn't making anywhere near the money he was making before, told her that maybe she should leave him because he wasn't making any money anymore. And Monica told Brian that her stepfather said that. Brian took that to heart, obviously, because he was always good to everybody. Everybody liked him, but he said that to her. And a couple of years later, stepfather was about 65 years old. He got sick one day and took him to the hospital. Turned out one of his lungs filled with liquid, and he had cancer. And the doctor says that he only had a few months left. And after that, the old man got really depressed and cried a lot. He knew he didn't have much time left, and his family would come see him. And his brother once told him, to be a man, to act like a man, not cry all the time. And finally, the day came when they took him to the hospital, and they had to puncture a hole on the side of his rib cage to put a like a small hose in there to drain the lung from the liquid. And then that's all they could do because there was no cure or anything. And like a week later, they had to do it again. But he said that was incredibly painful, and he couldn't even barely stand the pain, and he didn't want it done anymore. And they did it a couple of times, but it seemed like the lung would feel quicker every time they did it. And finally, one day again, he couldn't breathe very well, and he needed to go to the hospital. And they called an ambulance, but he was too weak. He couldn't get up to walk down on his own for the first time. And Brian grabbed the chair and brought it over so they could sit him on the chair and take him. So they took him to the hospital, and he later heard he died. But they told him what happened. It turns out that when he was in the hospital, he would die, and then the doctors would give him that electric shock to bring him back. So they did it, and he came back. So he was alive again, and a couple of minutes later, he died again. And the doctors are supposed to keep you alive, right? And they did it again. And again, he was alive for a few minutes, and he died again. And so once again, they gave him the electric shocks and brought him back. So he actually died 3 times when they were bringing him back to life. And he died a fourth time, and they said, just don't stop, don't bring him back. And that was the end of him. He passed away, and they let him go. And Monica and Brian stayed together for a few more years, but after a few more years, things weren't getting any better between them. And Monica decided to get pregnant from some other man, and came home one day, told him, and basically after that, she left Brian. And a few months later, Brian just sold a couple things he had and left. And that was the end of that.